All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for the webinar Asks Barry and Sarah Ann live Q&A on federal procurement. We're really glad that you're here. We're just gradually letting everybody into the room. We've got a super full house today. And I wanted to let everyone know this webinar is being recorded. Because you registered to attend this webinar, you are going to receive an email from WeBC with the recording later today or tomorrow. And if you have no plans for the long weekend, you can listen to it then and anytime for the next 30 days. My name is Kathy Burrell, and I'm the Client Services Coordinator for WeBC. And it's always a pleasure to host these sessions with Barry and Sarah Ann. Right now, before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge that we're gathered here today on the traditional and unceded territory of the Okanagan Syilx people. We recognize, honor, and respect the presence of Indigenous people, past, present, and future. So welcome, everyone. Um, if you feel like it and you'd like to kind of introduce yourself in the chat with your first name and the traditional territory that you're located on, please feel free to do that. Jen is going to put a link in the chat just in case you're not sure what traditional territory you're on, and you can feel free to have a look and say hi. My name is Kathy Burrell, and I'm an entrepreneur in residence at WeBC, as well as working in client services. So we'd love to hear from you. I just want to let everybody know that if after this session, you have a topic that you would like us to consider for a future webinar, we would love to hear from you. We're going to try and finish almost exactly at 11:30 today, so we've got a good hour and a half. But if you want to stick around to do our feedback poll at the end, we would really appreciate that. And in the feedback poll, you can just put any suggestion that you like or send us an email, give us a call at WeBC and let us know. We want to make sure that we give you the maximum value for your time. So yeah, thank you very much for doing that. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we offer here at WeBC. We provide support for your small business journey. We offer financing to get your business started and operating capital to fuel your growth. We offer more flexibility than traditional lenders because we take a holistic approach and provide loans based on your business's viability, not based on a formula. This means we provide loans to a diverse range of women-owned businesses and support you with integrated services, including complementary training, mentoring, and business advising. If I can tell you one reason why you would get a loan with WeBC, it would be that. We don't just give you the money and say, make your payments. We give you the money and say, we're here if you need assistance, and we will give you complimentary training, mentoring, and business advising for the entire 5-year term of your loan. From essential business skills development to personalized business advice, we know the right questions to ask and the right resources to connect you with. In our mentoring programs, you can connect with a network of women entrepreneurs and experts around BC who can support and inspire you. You can learn more about our services at our website, which is we-bc.ca, and sign up for our e-blast to get notified of new programs, as this fall is chock-a-block full. We have everything from mentoring to webinars to AI presentations. So please sign up for our e-blast newsletter. Okay. Welcome to our panelists. Today we've got Sarah Ann Hrycenko, who is Procurement Advisor at Procurement Assistance Canada, and we have Barry Payne, who is a Supply Team Leader with Procurement Assistance Canada. So today's webinar, do you have questions about selling to the federal government? Well, today is your chance. Sarah Ann Hrycenko and Barry Payne from Procurement Assistance Canada are here for you. Whether you're just starting to explore procurement or looking to deepen your understanding of the process, this is your chance to get personalized advice and insights directly from the source. So, what we're going to do today is you can either raise your hand if you have a question. That would probably be the easiest thing rather than the chat. But if you really would like to write something in the chat, one of us will be monitoring that. Welcome, Barry, and welcome, Sarah Ann. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we'll throw it over to the two experts.
I don't know if experts is a good word, but okay. I would say I like to use the word experienced
There
because
you go.
experts kind of it's a connotation that you know everything, right?
Yeah.
And if I knew everything, I'd be living in the Cayman Islands, so sipping on a margarita or something on the beach. So lots of experience, and I used to tell people I was a subject matter expert
Ah,
back in the early days of doing everything wrong. So,
oh.
um, so
So
I was going to say, yeah. So we wanted to keep it pretty informal today. Sarah Ann and I were chatting. I'm not sure. Um, we can kind of. Would you like us to kind of go back and kind of just quickly go over what we presented in terms of steps of selling to the government, or just go right into question and answer? I don't know, Kathy, would you
yeah,
prefer?
I mean, I think it's up to you, Barry. I think a little overview is not going to hurt anybody. There might be some people new
Okay.
today that didn't go to the last two sessions. So I
Okay.
would say, yeah, take 5 or 10 minutes and each of you can kind of have a little
All right.
go.
All right, so first of all, I'll kind of go back or how I got here, I guess is a good way to put it. Um, as most of you know from when I was doing previous presentations, I'm a huge advocate for making selling to the federal government easier or what I call less stressful. I sold to the federal government for well over 25 years. I'm coming to you from Ontario, and I live near Peterborough, Ontario. And my first, how I first got into business and kind of get going was I got us on a supply arrangement with the federal government, and basically that I like to explain to people that's just another what I call a pre-qualified list or a business license. And for the next, I'm going to say, well over 2 years, I drove back and forth every day. So I always say I started at the trunk of my car, and I really did. And there wasn't any financing or funding or anything like that available back when I started, and so it was about 4 hours each way. And so that would be my sweat equity, I call it, being up at like 4 a.m. But as I got going and was be driving back and forth, I'd start to learn about departments. I wouldn't try to oversell them, and that's why I'm a huge advocate on low dollar value because all I wanted them to do was give me a chance, or just they could learn about me, I could learn about them. I think one time I counted, there was about 172 departments in the Canadian federal government, and I got to tell you, all 172 departments have a different personality on how they do things. Some are really strictly by the book, and some are a little bit more flexible in how they do things. And back when I started, um, there really was this whole notion, and in some ways, it was, I call it reality because that's why we do these things about myth busting now. Um, there were people that were involved or in procurement that really were I call them the gatekeepers, so to speak, right? Or it was really centralized back then that a lot of things had to flow through one or two people or a few people. And so you literally had to be in Ottawa in order to grow your business or even like even get business in some cases. And so that's why I had to drive back and forth. But over the period of time, I called it my pot of gold at the end of the rainbow because every time I would go, eventually it would start, there was orders waiting for me at the other end. So it was worth the 4 hour drive. And so it really taught me a lot about how the government worked. Back in those days, we could just walk into a building literally, and it was so easy. There wasn't the security and the things that there are today. Um, so that started my journey. And one of the things I noticed was The easiest way getting in was not asking for, the whole thing, just asking for little pieces and give me an opportunity. And that's why I talk about the 3 easy steps. And it really is with 3 easy steps. It's 3 pages that I kind of noticed that they were the three components that were integral for me to move on and get my business. Page one is a page that we share called disclosures over $10,000. And basically, it's a Treasury Board mandate that any transaction over $10,000 has to be reported. And we have this page that you can go to, and it has every transaction since 2009 over $10,000. Anything under 10,000 is typically a credit card transaction. And those are nice too because they're up to 10,000. But the great thing about low dollar value is for goods, it's up to 25,000 and for services it's up to 40,000. And they don't even have to be non-competitive. They can give you an order if just for liking you. So that's a really flexible way of getting in because you basically your threshold is up to 25,000 if you're doing it good. And so there's not a lot of risk involved, and that's a good way. 20 up to $25,000 orders are good, lots of profit. And so that's the one page I use. And then the second page is our government phone book, and it lists everybody in the entire federal government, except for CSIS and RCMP and National Defense, folks like that for security reasons. But if those are departments that you want to speak with or get involved with, you can actually reach out to Procurement Assistance Canada. It doesn't matter where you are in the country, and we'll help you find who you need to speak with. And then the third page that I used a lot of, and there's many reasons because it ties in the first 2 pages, is what we call it's an Excel spreadsheet, and it contains every supply arrangement and every standing offer in the entire Canadian federal government. And why this is so important is because we only create supply arrangements and standing offers for products that we buy a lot of. So if it's a product or service that you do and you see it on a supply range, chances are we buy a lot of it. But also that page will also, or that list will also show you uh, competitors and other people that are already in that space, and you can kind of maybe collaborate with them, look at opportunities, things like that. I call that my cha-ching page because it was, it's just so it encompasses so much of the federal government procurement process. But going back to referencing back to page one, something to keep in mind, and I think it's like now I haven't really looked at the stats, but I believe that 90% of all contracts or orders placed are under 25,000. So the whole chat and the whole philosophy behind the low dollar value, I think is the way to go. Because it's less intimidating for you and it's less confusing. When I hear people like, I responded to 15 RFPs or I responded to 10 RFPs. I had a person one time told me they responded to 200. And I just went, wow, I said, that's a definition of insanity. But, responding to an RFP out of the gate is kind of like having a Ferrari. You don't have a driver's license. You're not going to know where to go. Like, it's disastrous. Not only in the sense that you've spent a lot of time and wasted a lot of time because you don't get it, but it's also emotional. I don't know. I was in sales for 25 years, so I know what it's like when you get a no, or you get, you put all your heart and sweat into an RFP, and then next thing you didn't get it. But there is an upside to an RFP, and that's if you respond to an RFP and you don't win, you can ask for a debriefing, and the debriefing is the greatest. I'm going to say one of probably the greatest tools we have in the federal government if you're a supplier, because when you request a debriefing and you'll meet with the actual team that did the RFP, they'll go through each component of what was missing or what you're wrong. You can find out, how far off your pricing was, which is great, and that kind of stuff. So a little secret was I used to actually respond to RFPs sometimes if I just wanted to learn about that product with no intention of winning it. So that's just something food for thought. Uh, but it was a good way of doing it back then because it was so open. The government would actually do an RFP if they didn't know somebody existed or who to buy from. So RFPs are good in the sense that you can learn about it. But again, I caution people. You got to look at it. The whole bigger picture of it. Some of the products that are out there the margins are just so low, and it's really not worth it. And that's why in some cases you're better off to stick to low dollar value. There are 10
Gary,
commodities. Yeah, sure. Go ahead,
I just
Kathy.
Yeah, I just want to just sort of again, emphasize the idea of that stat you used. I mean, everybody has to start somewhere. And,
Hmm.
all these people, I think that are on the call today have businesses existing. So, I mean,
Hmm.
it's not like they're determining that the federal government is going to keep them in business. But I think that
No.
emphasis of the 90% are under, $10,000. That's so incredible because a $10,000 contract on a slow month or in a slow year can keep you in business. So, that's great to know. And I think
Yeah.
uh, are we okay to go over to Sarah Ann now?
Yeah, I was gonna say, the terminology I use for that low dollar is keeping the lights on and food on the table,
Yes.
right? And that's a good analogy with those
Yes.
10,000. And yeah, and Sarah Ann, like we're kind of like birds of a feather because we come from the same background. And that's why I
Yeah.
love her to kind of jump in anytime now, Sarah Ann.
Great. Thanks, Sarah Ann. Yeah, thanks, Barry. Go ahead, Sarah Ann, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, thank you so much, Barry. Barry, he got it right. LDV, low dollar value, keeps the food and the lights on, food on the table and the lights on. Basically, networking is huge, right? Developing that network, having those skills, understanding capacity, how to navigate and build that relationship and network will bring in money for your business, right? That's what it comes down to. And before I joined PAC, I used to run a tile business myself. And I also used to work for the BC government. I did both of those for a while, and then I had the opportunity here at the federal government. So I got to teach businesses about federal procurement. So I joined the team. Anyway, but when I was working with my tile company, like how I grew and expanded, like I didn't have a website, I didn't have advertising really. It was all through networking. You know,
Mhm.
I met a gentleman on one site, and he's like, and I asked him like, I want to learn how to tile, and he taught me how to tile, and then I developed my skill, and then I started my own business after a while, and I always wondered like, how do I find clients, right? That was a question that would come up to me all the time. And like, where do you start with that? How do you build? Like, for example, there's a construction project happening. Where does it begin? So it starts with the city permits, right? You have to go through the city permits. Everything has to go through there first. You can't build anything, a home or a tower or anything without a permit. So the city must know everything. And that's what I realized. So you go to the source, right? It's the same thing. If you're not sure how to sell the federal government, you come to PAC. We are the source. Like we will help you get that knowledge on what to do. So the city was my source. And I often would go to City Hall or the city halls and develop a relationship with the city people as well, right? And figure out what upcoming projects were coming up. You know, permits, the new permits that were coming out, and who was responsible for those, and contacting them and letting them know that I do tile work, and that's how I built that connection. And people at first were like, oh, obviously I'm a deaf person. It's not easy being a deaf person. And I have to show up in person. I have to show up on site and show that I can do things, right? I don't want to say it and then show up and they're like, oh, they have no idea. And they're like, oh, no, so I wanted people to know what I was like. And back in the day, this was about 20 years ago when I started it. So, we didn't have the FaceTime and the video relay service where deaf people could call hearing people. Like that wasn't established yet. That's only established 10 years ago. So I had to show up in person on site and say hello, and communicate via text and with the superintendent on the job, and so he gave me his business card, and then I would email and reach out and follow up and follow up and follow up again, right? And when there was new contractors, they're looking for quotes. So I would make sure I connected with those people. So if they got called for a quote, I would send my quote in. So that kind of building connections, that networking, you always have to reach out. You always have to follow up. That's part of it, right? It's just like Barry said, if you make that connection and you try to make that connection, you don't hear anything, you have to follow up, you follow up again, and eventually they get back to you. And that's how you grow. It's that networking part and having that patience there as well. Sometimes you're going to lose stuff, right? I've lost some contracts for sure, and that's part of business. Maybe you bid too low. You can lose money there too, but maybe you bid too high, you don't get the business. So it's really a business decision, and you realize that as you go. You win some, you lose some, right? If a job matches my budget and I win it and it's all good, then we go from there. But it's important to think about your business view what you could lose and what you can't lose, like in terms of knowing your bottom line. Some people will bid low and not make money on it, but they get the experience and then they build that connection, right? So sometimes you have to ask yourself that and think about that. But anyway, so the rest becomes word of mouth. Then once you establish yourself, it becomes word of mouth, and then work just picks up until I left the business. I stopped it. I don't run it anymore now, and I still get calls now. I've been working for the government for a while, and I still get calls saying I'm out. But that word of mouth was out there. And at the beginning, I never got calls. I was chasing people at the beginning, right? But now people are chasing me still to this day to get work done. But anyway, so people came, yeah. So that tells you how much you invest in networking at the beginning. You really have to get that established and really give before you get it back.
Thanks, Sarah.
One thing we should add when we're talking about the Canadian federal government,
Yeah.
it's the largest organization that does procurement in the country. It's the number one. So that automatically also makes it the most competitive marketplace in the country.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what I like to impress upon people. Yeah, it's a great opportunity, but you got to think this is the most competitive, and if you think about hockey analogy, it wouldn't even be NHL. It'd be like the world champion. Like it's competitive, right?
Well, and the thing is, it's not everybody on this call has already, their business, they know their business model, like backwards and forwards,
Yeah.
just like you did with furniture, Barry. If somebody asked you a question about a chair, you could tell them about a chair. So I think the issue again is more of, having confidence in what you're doing. You know that as a woman-owned business, perhaps you might get your foot in the door a little bit easier because of the government's ideas of who they want to purchase from. But on the other hand, that Sarah Ann and you have said is, these questions today are more about, the process of how, you did it because you both have been successful in it. But, it's not to say that this isn't hard work, but on the other hand, nothing worth doing is not hard
Exactly.
work, right? So,
You know, I
go
was going
ahead.
to say the great thing about the government and we specifically the low dollar value, that's where people buy from people.
Yeah,
Right. So there's nothing at 25,000 for good, 40,000 for services. They can buy from you just because they like you.
yeah,
So when you get up into the RFPs, that's a whole different game, right? Like
yeah,
they love to buy from you, but unfortunately there's all kinds of rules and things that go
yeah,
up there. And so that's why I think, and I like to impress upon people that the federal government's transparent. First of all, and you just touched on the fact that, being a women-owned business, we know everybody knows that it's coming, right? Like finally, like women-owned, black-owned businesses. And by the way, there's check boxes for each of them. But what these procurement people are doing now is making note of who's out there for when
yeah,
that happens, right? I would, we were hoping it'd be here by now, right?
yeah,
Sarah and I know they've been working on it for a few years, but making your presence known and doing a good job now is going to be, you're just going to hit the ground running when it hits
yeah,
because you will have established that reputation. And one of the interesting things about the federal government, where there's a real misconception is they talk about all these bloated, federal employees and things like that. The people in procurement, if anything, they're on smaller teams than they were 10 years ago. There's less of them. And so they're doing more with less. And so they're very risk averse, and so getting in and getting them to trust you is a huge thing because then they know who they can turn to really quickly,
yeah.
you know. You know,
So again, one of those rules about over preparing or under, you want to make sure you can deliver what you say you can deliver. I mean, it might be tempting to go for a contract that's 25 or $40,000, but if
yeah,
you think that's your first one and you might not be able to do it, start with $10,000. Like,
yeah, yeah.
something's a bit smaller. So okay, it's 10:30. So I think what we're going to do is launch into a couple of questions and
Sure.
then anybody want to raise your hand and ask a question?
Yes.
Um hey Carolyn, I see you.
Hi.
Who's your question for?
It's actually for Barry.
Oh,
So Barry, I have a unique intervention called neurofeedback that is going to save the VAC and Canadian Armed Forces billions of dollars. It gets rid of PTSD and traumatic brain injuries permanently. Now, I just got hired by a military contractor that services the VAC. I completed 60 sessions with a veteran who had been in the system for 10 years. Every intervention failed. Nothing worked because he had very severe PTSD from a shipboard incident. Long story. But in 60 sessions of neurofeedback, he was restored. So that cost $10,000, and that could have saved 10 years of interventions that were wasted because nothing else works on PTSD and traumatic brain injuries except the brain itself. So what we're doing is we're using the brain's own neuroplasticity to change how it runs the nervous system, to create new connections and literally extinguish PTSD, traumatic brain injuries permanently.
Carolyn, do you
yes?
have a question in there somewhere?
Yes, the question is, I want to get to the VIC immediately. I went through through a military contractor called PCVRS. How do I get this service to the VAC directly?
You know,
Great question.
That's a good question. I love what this is awesome because right away my lights go off and I'm thinking, well, I'm thinking of police forces, like
Yes.
even, right?
Oh,
Big
yeah.
time. Because I know a few that are going through that. You know, one thing about the national defense, and we talk about networking, that's just one big network, right? It really is. So when somebody retires from the service, they become a consultant or so, and there's only a few of those organizations in Ottawa, so it's not hard to find. But also, there's something else you could do is actually go directly to national defense, like to an ADM or something like that, because this is such a big issue within the national defense that somebody's going to go, oh, wow, we got to listen to this. We got to hear about this, right? I don't think that would be that difficult to get you connected to the right group who could help you get to the right people. You know, we touched upon that everybody's in the phone book within all the different departments, but not national defense. Within most of these departments, they all have somebody who's kind of like a lead procurement person that we can reach out to. And so for us, we could reach out to national defense and they could give us a first point of contact, or we can kind of go to ADMs or something like that and ask for that. One of the things that I've kind of seen that's successful is I ask people to put it in writing, send me an email, and then I send it over and I'm asking for their help, who I should direct you to. And Sarah Ann's got her hand up because that means she's kind of stumbled on something as well, probably.
Yes, thanks, Barry. So what Barry was saying about the large employee directory. So I just quickly went to look at GEDS, the government employee directory, and the wonderful thing about GEDS is that it has a mental health field. I'm going to share my screen. I want you to take a look at this, Carolyn.
This is awesome.
Okay.
And you can see it here, Carolyn, right there. Okay.
Oh.
So this resource is here. The contact people are here. Okay. This is where you go. And you reach out to them.
Okay.
Okay, those are the names. Those are the people that work there.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, a direct contact. So
Thanks
you can
so
click
much
on that, share
that.
the emails will be shown. I'm just gonna click on it here.
Yep.
And I'm gonna show you. And there's the email right there for that person that works there. Okay. And that's that's how we do it. That's how simple it is.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
yeah. And congratulations, Carolyn, on your work. I mean, that's incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm
So
so excited.
yeah, and so so you've got, Barry and Sarah Ann as like in your pocket, but that's Sarah Ann will send you the link and you can start going down the rabbit hole and see how you do. But basically, it sounds like a lot of work, and so you got to make sure there's just one of you, right?
I was going to ask if Carolyn could reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. I have because of I'm indigenous, I'm working from the reserve. I get a lot of that's why I touched on the police. I get a lot of them. I have the chief of police for Peel region. They'll reach out to me because they want to get involved with indigenous youth and things like that. So there's a lot of interconnectivity, and I'd love for you to connect with me on LinkedIn so I can help you connect with those organizations as well.
Fantastic.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, I see Megan. Megan, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, sorry, I've missed a bit of the session, so I hope I'm not repeating. But I work with a few Indigenous communities in Ontario doing emotion and belief code to help with grief and trauma. So I would like to learn more. I actually just got a bit of a grant through Export Navigator because I also created a journal, like it's a self-love journal in different colors. And so I'm looking to get it out to different communities or groups, as wellness, as well as the grief, trauma, helping release that. So what you just said will really help, but if there's something else that comes in mind.
Again, Megan, I'd like you to reach out to me on LinkedIn because the
Yeah.
Chiefs of Ontario just had a wellness
I
conference.
know. I missed it.
And I work closely with the Chiefs of Ontario here. So I can help
Okay.
you connect with some of the folks over there. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
because I go to Magnetawan
okay.
every 2 months, and then
Yeah.
I go to
You
Mississauga by
know,
Blind River.
I always make light of the fact that the Indigenous community is probably the easiest demographic in the country to market to because we have a group or a conference for everything,
Yes, I
literally,
know.
right?
Yeah, I've done massage and cranial and
Yeah.
motion code at some of the retreats, and it's a
Yeah.
passion of mine.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, I'll reach out.
Okay. Please do. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks for your
you.
question, Megan. Otil? Oh, I'm pronouncing that wrong.
It's Ottilie. It's okay.
Otley.
I'm used to the
Sorry about that.
butcher. It's okay. Great information. Thank you very much. I kind of touched on this last week. I am Canadian. I live in California, but I am intrigued with the whole procurement, like cross borders. Do you guys have a procurement team or PTAC or like some type of a assistance, or maybe that might be yourself, the organization where I could figure out the steps to actually, if I was to get bids or if I was to, get a contract, how I can, or basically, how could I get contracts in Canada?
This is interesting because we've been covering. Yeah, I see Sarah Ann because I know she's been in on those calls about the trade agreements and stuff. I kind of missed all
Yeah.
that, so I'll let Sarah Ann answer this because I know it's been big on our plate.
Yeah, yeah, thanks, Barry. Yeah, the bottom line is procurement. The procurement part for cross borders is everything is found on the Canada Buys website. So I can share my screen and just show you the Canada Buys website. It's always
Okay.
good to take a look at.
But now the question I have, Audley, is so you're Canadian, but you're living in the U.S., which that doesn't, I don't think it really matters. The only
Right.
thing that really would affect you if it's goods versus consulting,
Service.
because consulting
Yeah.
you can do from anywhere, right?
Right.
But goods would be subject to tariffs and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see any constraint, literally, for you to bid on if you're a consulting service or something like that. It doesn't matter where you are, right? It's the same as I've had people, been on vacation, have called me from Jamaica or somewhere. You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
kind of the same concept, right?
That's true.
And I
I think
can't
more,
see, yeah.
I think also too, it was like more or less, would I be the prime and then subcontract? Could I subcontract Canadian companies? Would that, it'd be the same thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, you could. And is it a good or a service that you would be doing?
Well, a bit of both. I do
Okay.
consulting, but I kind of also do a bit of both. So,
Because the good is a little bit tougher, especially if it's going to originate from the U.S., right?
mhm,
But the service is easy,
yeah.
and you can collaborate with anybody up here actually with that, or even down there, because there's a lot of cross-border collaboration that goes on. I get involved in there's the Canadian commercial, no, there's a Canadian trade right in LA. Actually, I talked to them
Oh,
a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, and their role is to help promote Canadian companies and vice versa, connecting them up a lot. Okay. But if it's in the consulting side, chances are it's pro services and you'd have to get on that list. And still, it doesn't matter that you're in the US as long as you're Canadian, right?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And I'll
Um,
let Sarah continue on. It's just
Yeah. Yeah, so I just I may have misunderstood your question. I thought you were looking for some sort of border related services, but that you sell for the for the CBSA. But so it's all good. My bad. But
no, it's okay.
yeah.
I appreciate that. Then this is great information.
But yeah, just in general, there are different tenders. Like the TSPS, Task Solutions, Professional Services stream. And I included that in my presentation last week on Thursday. So if you can watch the recording, there's more information regarding that, TSPS. I'm happy to sit down with you also to do a one-on-one about that. There's a lot of service-related for a government procurement that goes to TSPS, that category. So you have to fill out a supply arrangement for TSPS to be able to get that. And there's a new intake every 3 months to be able to get on that list. So if you become a qualified vendor, then you must be in business for at least 3 years. I think that's one of and revenue at a certain point as well. With those requirements, and then if the stream of service is something that you provide, then there's 15 different categories, or sorry, I should say streams in that. So if you provide one of those, then you can connect that way and try to get on that pre-qualified list. So look into TSPS. Anyways, I'm happy to chat with you more on a one-on-one if you like. I can show you how to do that.
Perfect. And is your information somewhere on here?
Yeah. Something I'd like to add is if you haven't been in business for 3 years, you can joint venture with somebody that has, and you're able to use their experience. Okay. And
Got it.
and that gets you around that. Question I was going to ask you, since you're in LA, have you heard of NMSDC, the National Minority Supplier
And
Development Council? I belong to KMC up here, but I also was down in the US, and there's a lot of opportunities through that organization down there as well. Right,
can you just repeat it again? It's NMSDC.
yeah, National Minority Supplier Development Council. Every state has kind of like their own regional group, and it's an incredible organization if you're down there. And it doesn't matter if you're Canadian or American. It's just you need to reside in the U.S. in order to become involved with them in order to sell to their corporate. And it's a huge opportunity.
Great. I will definitely look into that. Thank you.
And Sarah Ann's information is in the chat. So it'll also be sent to you when you get the email from us later today or tomorrow.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sorry, Sarah, on the link that you posted in the chat isn't working.
Oh, Sarah's spelt wrong. Jen, SHARA. That's all it is, I think.
That's not me posting that.
Okay.
But though her link before up ahead, the person information, the link is not opening.
Sorry about that.
Poor Sarah. Okay. All right. Thanks very much for your question. Again, we're getting some interesting stuff today, but the nice thing is there's always a solution. Go ahead, Sarah Ann.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say about the 2 links I sent, the last 2 in the chat. The Task Solutions Professional Services, that is not IT related. Just wanted to clarify that. And the second link, they have the different streams there, and that includes some of the IT services in that second link. So, so IT services are not part of TSPS. But if you do provide IT services, then you go to TBIPS or SBIPS. Those are separate supply arrangements for those. So the task basis for services only is not that are not IT related. Just wanted to make that distinction.
You're actually better off. You're better off to reach out to Sarah Ann and I offline, because it'll be confusing just trying to. All these acronyms. Yeah, it's crazy.
You guys have to take a test every week on acronyms. I mean, oh my goodness me, that's a lot.
When I first started, the team printed me a list and I stuck it on the wall beside me. And every time I heard something, I have to go down the list to see what are they talking about.
Okay, thanks very much for your question. Any other questions? Anybody want to raise their hand and ask Barry or Sarah Ann something? All right, Stacy, I see your hand, a real hand. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hi.
My name, so I don't, Sarah, my name is Stacey. I wanted to thank you. The webinar series has been so really great. And my question is for both Sarah and Barry. As someone who teaches digital detox, I see firsthand the impact of people overuse and mental health with too much screen time. I'm just wondering, do you see a role in the government in supporting a program like mine?
Well, I certainly do. Because on our team, and Sarah Ann will vouch for this, we have what we call mental health, like I get overburdened where I actually have to kind of take a step back. And Sarah Ann's been around, she's actually more involved in this. Yeah, I see it as it would almost be like a one-offs to the teams, right? The groups, because they would make that decision. Like my team in Pacific, I think would probably welcome something like that, would they not, Sarah Ann? A session
Oh
on.
yeah, yes, for sure. Absolutely. I think that's more of like connecting through the network. Once people know in government what you do, and through emails, like I would email, people on GEDS there, the government employee directory, and find the right people and just contact them and share about your business. And we provide, you can say that you provide, services on how to, detox or to manage, fatigue from being on a screen. Just send off and just promote yourself on there. And then follow up, just like I was saying before. Send an email first, then follow up, right? Reach out again and let them know what you do.
Reach out to Sarah Ann and she can connect you with our regional director. Because I could see it as something our team would actually, be interested in hearing for sure.
So Barry, like Stacey
Yes.
wouldn't have to get on a special list or anything like this. This would probably be something that if the team felt it was a need and it was under $25,000, like.
Well, that's a good. This is up to 40,000. This is a service.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so she wouldn't need it. Something like that. You could actually go and do the page one and see if they've ever done some contracts like that. But that's one of those kind of niche things that you can actually get around a lot of what I call the contracting processes. So you can go directly to a regional director or a director and say, "Hey, look, we offer this service," and it's funny because the digital, it's so prevalent these days. The burnout from it, right? It really is digital detox. I like that word. And it's kind of like, think of our little kids that live with iPads in their hands, right? Like that, literally digital detox.
So Barry, would it be something like almost like a phone interview in a way that Stacey would do with somebody that she was calling and would maybe provide examples of other people that have used her service that they could check on and things like that?
I would probably start out through an email to someone like Sarah Ann, and Sarah Ann can share it, because we have these team meetings, we have them every day. But these are something we bring to kind of the team, right? Because we do all kinds of things behind the scenes that people don't even see, like coaching ourselves and all these kind of helping each other, right? And mental health is so important to us, especially in our team. It's like it's front and center every day.
And I just want to add there, Barry, that we do often get mental health notifications and awareness, and making sure that we're taking care of ourselves, like from the government. The teams, every team talks about their mental health. Not all of them, but some teams, bring that up as part of their there's also a mental health month, things like that come up often. So if you time your opportunity right, maybe you could focus on the mental health month or that week and get that out there. Like, it's a digital detox week, and get on with the government that way. It's important that you look at the time before that comes up and you can contact them. So maybe there's,
they may not even know something like this exists, right?
Take advantage of that timing.
And it's marketing, right? Like, I mean, your stuff and that other people need to be made aware of it. And there just happens to be, I can't even imagine how many employees in the federal government, but there's a lot of departments and a lot of people. So you could kind of, depending on your time, you could go down the list.
There's 300,000, about 300,000 employees, I think, of the federal government. They all of us work on computers. So there you go.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and this is in your outreach, it's probably where I would use testimonials, probably so that you want to grab their interest to connect with you, right?
And Sarah here. I just wanted to add as well, I tried a quick search for digital detox on the $10,000 proactive disclosure. I saw nothing on there, and I'm kind of surprised by that. So I'm wondering if there's any other keywords that you would use as opposed to digital detox. Maybe, again, this maybe is a newer topic, but people are becoming more aware of it, and that's really spreading. So I think trying to be less phones for children in schools, like that's kind of recently come up, and less technology in certain aspects, so people are more aware of that. So I think that it might be a good time for you to be a new entry into the federal government for sure for this.
Great. Does that answer your question, Stacy? You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I actually wanted to thank everyone for thank you for all the amazing information. And even I actually didn't know how to make the hand symbol. So, because I think in my lifetime, I've only had 10 video calls. And so, yeah, it's been phenomenal what you've just given me. And I do feel, because I've lived without a phone or internet for 13 years.
Yep.
And I'm not against it. I just want to help people have balance. So yeah, it's so wonderful. So thank you so much for all the information. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for your question. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacey.
You're welcome.
So anybody else have a question for Sarah Ann and Barry? I mean, that's, the things that we learn about in these sessions about what kind of businesses women are, doing. And yeah, it's very interesting to kind of see how what you do fits into but the government at 300,000 employees is like a city or a country or so there's bound to be something.
You know what's really cool that nobody ever thinks about is what we learn. We always Sarah and I we get to learn about all these different digital detox. I didn't even know it existed before, right? That's kind of cool. And especially when you're in a family setting and somebody's chatting there and they don't know what, and you bring up, I just talked to somebody who does this. And I'm like, wow. And that's, we actually learn what people are working on before it even becomes like a household, which is really kind of cool, right?
Yeah. We've got Linda has a question. Okay. Linda B, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Again, first of all, thank you. This has been absolutely amazing and overwhelming at the same time, but I think that's normal. And I appreciate all the valuable info that has been shared. My question is, I'm a teacher, but also like a life coach, and my business is called Be Thriving Moms Today. So I'm focusing on supporting moms and women. So I'm wondering if that is maybe too specific, or if the government has potentially something just focused on that target group.
On moms?
Yeah.
I would think, this is just kind of what I know of the landscape in Ottawa. I would suspect that something through Health Canada probably would have something like that, right?
Okay.
And by the way, the life coaching, because I know I've a couple of years now of working with Weeby, so I've actually done some investigation to see if the government does buy a life coach, and they did, and they actually did a lot. I just don't know how much we're doing now with all the cutbacks and things like that, right? But if you were actually to take that, your keywords and go into the page 1, you would find a lot of contracts. And there was actually, and then page 3, which is the supply arrangements. There's even supply arrangements for that type of stuff as well. So, but if you want and you need a little bit more help on how to navigate the Health Canada kind of, then reach out to us, and I'd love to kind of help you kind of steer your way through that as well.
I would really appreciate that. I feel like English is not my first language. And I've been in Canada for many years, but even all these words of what does it mean, like amendment or procurement? And so there's a big steep learning curve for me here, but so some extra support would be absolutely appreciated.
So yeah, thanks. Look at Sarah Ann's got coaching services. There's a ton of it, and we always try to say, we buy everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's lots of coaching services here. Yeah. There's plenty there. Yeah.
It'd be an interesting one too, as I'm thinking is national defense is thank God we're putting money to it finally, but on those bases and that there would be, there's families and then there's moms and there's, so think of there's probably an area that they could probably use assistance. The moms that are on the bases dealing with, their husbands deployed, plus raising kids, right? Like that would be a real challenge.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah. So Linda, like reaching out and talking to a few people, I
Yeah.
mean, you're going to get directed this way and that way. I'm sure no one is going to try and, direct you in the wrong way. But the idea is certainly there's probably been that thought in people's heads and they haven't known, what they don't need, like sort of they do need it. So yeah,
My,
it's exciting to get started.
I'm a little
And
familiar
so,
with it. So I was going to say my daughter started something with a group of moms, and they called themselves the Mad Moms. And what Mad stood for was moms all day.
Oh,
oh, nice.
Yeah, it was kind of cute. And they called themselves the Mad Mothers, I think it was, or something like that. It was crazy. Yeah.
And if I got that correctly, I think you have to be in business for 3 years.
No, not at
Otherwise, you
all.
would
No,
collaborate.
no. That's for professional services, certain professional services categories.
Yeah, there's different
Okay.
streams there. Yeah,
Yeah.
pro services, for example. Yeah, 3 years. There's no 3-year minimum there.
Yeah.
TSPS, it's a larger, over $100,000 in value for contracts. There's certain specifications. But
there's a
pro
risk there,
services is
right?
under $100,000 of professional services. It includes all 15 streams, like IT to coaching services and you name it, HR and things like that. Also, I wanted to mention too, Linda, that so far from my observations, like this is my take on it, that the government and the word innovation is often wanting to be discussed. Like what idea we have or what work solutions we have that are successful, and how does that apply to different things as well. It's not just one thing, but how can that be adjusted to apply to different things? And so there's opportunities there. It's the innovation part. So maybe mom coaching, maybe there's opportunities there, but if you can adjust it a little bit and it can apply to maybe other things as well in the federal government, like different coaching services, like certain tools, that would apply, right? So if it's not just one thing, if you can expand it a bit too, the innovative approach is huge right now. Wow. How can you take tools that apply certain things to other things? Those types of strategies and things. So if you can make it apply to other things, that would be wonderful with different programs and things. So.
That's such great advice, Sarah Ann. I mean, like just knowing something like that, like it's a game changer.
Yeah, thank you so much for mentioning that. And I feel like I have two, they're scientifically proven approaches that absolutely work and give results. And they're not just focused on moms. Anyone could benefit from them. And I've been struggling with that a bit because moms is in the title of my business, but anyone, could absolutely benefit from them for sure.
Yeah. Out of 300,000 employees, there's got to be a few moms in there.
Yeah. So Linda, you'll get the the contact information for Barry and Sarah, and if you get stuck, let us know. Send us an email at WeBC. But yeah,
I appreciate that. And one last question: did you post another link to find? I was quite interested, obviously, in the mental health department, and because I tried and it just wouldn't work for me.
Oh, you know what, Sarah Ann? I think we showed we have a different phone book.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm typing it from my government network.
Yeah. It'll do that.
I can't do it for externally. What's the trick you have to do?
I have an idea.
So Sarah and Barry, can you guys share those links with me after the session, and then I can send them in the email?
Well,
we can do that for sure.
Perfect.
Here's a good thing that happened, because this is just proof with Sarah Ann. She was able to get those emails, that person's email. In order for us to give their email out, we have to email them to get permission. So you send me or Sarah Ann an email, we email them, and then you get to talk to their, because in case it's not the right person, they'll tell us who the right person is.
Perfect. Look at this. I tell you, this is like we're inside information. Yeah.
That's a lot of work for you guys.
Thanks anyway, Linda, for the question. And and we've got another question.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to massacre your name.
Ottilie.
Oh, it's Ottilie again. Yes.
Hey.
I'm sorry to kind of jump
Yeah.
back in, but this
No,
question
that's
is for
whatever.
Barry. In the beginning, you were discussing about 3 pages that you often use, the disclosures, the government phone book, and then the last one you talked about an Excel spreadsheet. What was I was taking notes, but what were you saying is what's on that spreadsheet?
Well, okay, so it's from my what I call my 3 easy steps presentation, which I
Right.
presented here. And the third page of those 3 easy steps is an Excel spreadsheet that lists every supply arrangement and standing offer in the Canadian federal government. So, and when you get there, the great thing about it is it'll show you, like it gives you all the information you need about that particular supply arrangement, who has it, who's the owner of it, like the company, where it was actually released, like it could be NCR, it could be Ontario, or it could be national.
Okay.
And better still, it gives us the actual supply arrangement number that helps us really target in on the proper supply arrangement for you to be on. Something else that's really good about the pro services that we didn't touch on is it's always open. It's not one of those things you have to sit and wait for a few years for to renew. It refreshes every 3 months. So if you were wanting to get on it now, let's say, September is kind of too late now, but you'd be setting up for December. So you'd have the next 3 months to get all your information in so you can make that list.
And
Okay.
it's called, and that list is called supply arrangements.
If it's anything to do with consulting,
Okay.
it's pro services, but whatever you're consulting is usually on a supply list, and all of the supply list is a list of suppliers, pre-qualified suppliers
Like
that are in
vendors?
that category. Yeah, vendors. Yeah,
Okay, there you
exactly.
go. Okay.
Okay,
That's what threw
get it.
me off. I was like,
Yeah, I know.
maybe
There's
they're calling it something else.
all these words, and you know
words.
what? In the U.S., they use different terms, so it's crazy.
Yeah. No,
It's
this is great. I
yeah,
love this. So I just wanted to recap on that. So I didn't want to take up
yeah.
too
No
much
worries.
time. So I appreciate that.
You have any questions, you reach out to us. Don't let it
I
become a
will.
roadblock. Okay, thank you.
And is all that information with the vendors, is that inside Canada Buys? Like where is there a specific area to find that?
Well, if you have the 3 steps, you can go to the third page and open it up, or you can go to what they call open. What's it called, Saran? Open. She'll know the term. I don't use
One
it that way.
second here.
Yeah,
1 second.
it's open. Like it's where they keep. It's open. Like all their data is kept there. But the easiest way is to, if you had my 3 steps, the third page would be that
Open
Excel.
government proactive disclosure. I mean, like I can send that link.
Open
Yeah.
government's what they call it. That's
Yeah.
it.
But
So your 3 steps, was that a slide that was sent out?
Yeah, open government. That's right.
that was actually the first session that we did 3 weeks ago or 2
Oh,
weeks
got
ago.
it. Okay.
Yeah, so it was the whole session with Barry, had everything on there. So you have that recording. I believe you were in that session, right?
No, I wasn't. The
Okay.
first one I did was last week and
Okay.
so do you have a
Just-
library that I can go to see
Yeah,
past
or
recordings?
just send me an email, Otley, and I'll
Barry
send
will
it to you.
send it
Okay.
you. Yeah.
All right, thank
And
you.
because there's other stuff that I'll actually send you now that I know what you do. There's other
Yeah.
information I can
So,
send to you that'll be helpful as well.
Adelie,
Okay,
the
it's
Yeah.
recordings are available on WBC's webpage under resources. And then
Thank
you
you.
can see the 3 easy steps there. Yeah, it's on our resources page and it's on YouTube too. But
Great.
yeah.
and
Thank you,
Sarah.
guys.
Okay, and Sarah here. I just wanted to mention that pro services, it's a little bit tricky. So a one-on-one with me or Barry would be great. But just to summarize it, the CPSS, that is Canadian Professional Services category. They have 6 different groupings in there. It's IT. There's 2 supply arrangements for IT, and then there's pro services is one of them for under less than $100,000 in value of contracts, and that's under the Canada-Korean free trade threshold, and that's for Canadian businesses only. And then there's service-related only for HR, consulting, for over $100,000 in value of contracts. And then the last one is audit services as well. That's located in there. And that's for financial audits and things like that.
I see an opportunity here.
Yeah, the
for
last one is
Otley.
the help services for the national offices in Ottawa, Gatineau. So talking about $100,000, that category, they have their own method of supply arrangement. So you have to, fill that out and send it in to become a qualified vendor for each one of those supply arrangements. So I recommend if you provide a service that's often under $100,000 mostly, then try to get on, look into pro services, method of supply arrangement, and fill that out and send it in. And that's the way to go. And to respond to that, you do have to register with as an SRI, supplier registration information. You have to get that first, and then you have to get your procurement business number, and then you can sign up with an account on CPSS. That's the platform where you would respond to the pro services supply arrangement. That's
we
on
have all this. We
CPSS.
can provide the walkthrough instructions. Oddly, I actually see the light was going off as you're talking because you're in California. What's going to happen is there'll be a whole bunch of companies that are already on that supply arrangement up here in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually, if you know folks down there that may be in business like bigger companies or corporations that they're not dealing with us up here in Canada,
Yeah.
collaborate with them and use their corporate experience to get on that list. You follow me?
Right. Yes, I
That'd be
do. I do.
huge,
This is
right?
great.
Because the companies here may not want to talk to you, right? Because they're doing it themselves. But you could always collaborate with somebody down there and bring them into Canada because of your status.
Right. Okay. I'm definitely going to email you guys. I appreciate
Okay.
this.
Okay. Yeah, no worries.
Thank
And
you.
I posted the method of supply, pro services method of supply, all that information. The link is in the chat.
Yeah, you were quick. Thank you.
Yes.
And then you can also, just click on that and then download and look into it and look at the supply arrangements and see if it's the right fit for your business. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
And if you're not sure, you're confused, reach out to me. It's free to reach out to me and Barry. Okay, anytime.
What are you guys called? Like, are you guys like what is the title that you?
Yeah, it's Procurement Assistance Canada. I'm a procurement advisor. Is my title.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And the coolest thing about us is we're not aligned with any real political department. We're kind of a standalone. And so we don't get whatever's going on politically has no effect on us. Our
Yeah.
role is just to work with suppliers in Canada and help them become more successful at federal
I
government.
love it.
That's it.
No, I love it. This information is great.
Thank you. I think, again, if there's one thing you get from this session today is that being successful in procurement is a process. I think
Yeah.
that is sort of the number one thing, and the nice thing is, with doing 3 of these sessions, we're kind of everybody's, a little light bulb goes off, in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden you get what you're supposed to be doing, and how it relates to you. So thank you to
Yeah.
Sarah Ann and Barry. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, yeah, thanks. Any other questions for Sarah Ann or Barry regarding anything? We'll kind of cover anything in the last 2 sessions. We're at about 5 minutes after 11, so we've got a bit more time. Or if anybody is just a little bit sort of fuzzy about something, things about getting on a list or, what sort of thresholds, anything, go ahead, raise your hand. We can chat about it. And just a reminder again, this webinar is being recorded as well as the other 2. So, take your time, but if you feel that you really need some extra help, that's great. And we've got a question. Asitu, is that your name? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi. So for me, I have a business that is a social enterprise. And so we used to have one side that had products, but we're going to be discontinuing that after this. But we do workshops around sustainability and sustainability process design, as well as kind of project management consulting. So my question was going to be, where would you recommend I kind of get started? Because I have no experience with this, and I just thought it would be interesting for us to kind of branch in there, especially as I'm doing a specialization in climate action policy and around process framework design. Yeah, so that was my question, and I think I also reached out to you on LinkedIn, Barry, so I'm
Oh,
excited.
okay, and I'm still working through that list. Like it's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, and my new response since I reach out to I connect is I'm sorry it's taken me so long.
Oh
Um,
gosh, no worries about it.
because yeah, and I'm working because
Yeah.
WeBC, I think it probably already had 15 new people today kind of connecting. And I'm in Ontario and I look after the country. So and after, by the way, there's I'm thinking of Buy Social, right? We have relationships with all these different groups, right?
Mm.
And so that's the carryover. But I'll get to you eventually on my LinkedIn, and I red flag everything. I have 100 and some odd red flags now. I'm
Oh
going
my
like, oh,
gosh.
I'm gonna have to take a week off. Um,
Yeah.
but
And you can,
I learned of a good site yesterday, and like I never even knew existed. York University has a social procurement website. You can go in and register. And I remember yes, seeing some about climate action in there. Yeah, so go to York University. It's called Social Procurement Vendor Registration or something. Yeah, it's really cool.
So Barry, overall, if you are a social enterprise, not a
Yeah.
for-profit business, you can still provide services to the federal government?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay,
It just depends who you talk. Yeah, they don't.
that's a mind blower,
Yeah, well,
let me tell
well,
you.
I know
Yeah.
not like, and that goes back to sometimes, there's some contracts that the companies don't make any money. That's part of their strategy, right? Government doesn't really care if you're profitable or not, really. And in most cases, they prefer you wouldn't be, so they get a cheaper price, right? So,
and
um,
just so you know, you can always reach out to me too. It's Sarah Ann here. You can always reach out to me as well. Like if Barry's busy, you can, yeah,
yeah,
get
but
to me
we'll
as
both
well.
help. Yeah,
Yeah,
and we
good,
actually we
good.
chat back and forth
Yeah.
constantly, right?
Yeah.
Sharing stuff. So
And
yeah, so it doesn't
also,
matter which one.
just so you know that pro services, that what I was just talking about, that's a great place to start. Also to get
Okay.
yourself involved in pro
Yeah.
services. Because
Okay.
last week I was presenting about the mandatory commodities that are out there, which means that all of the federal government departments have to go through a specific supply arrangement for a specific service or good. So if your product or service is part of that mandatory stream, then you can get on a supply arrangement, like for example, project management, like you were mentioning, that could apply to that.
Yeah.
So please do look into pro services. And then when there's a call up after you're on that pre-qualified list, you can compete for those businesses are already in pro services. So that's the best way to first step for you also to get part of pro services. It's not a guaranteed contract, but getting it in there, and then you can start reaching out to people via there
Yeah.
and saying that you're on that supply arrangement. Like
Step one.
Green Procurement, they have an office there
Yeah.
as well. So take advantage of that and let them know that you're on pro services already listed on there and that you're willing to offer your service.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Wonderful. Thanks. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it definitely did. Thank you.
Okay. That's great. I mean, that again, it's one of those things that I think so many people are afraid to ask. They're
Yeah.
just like, oh, it might not be the right question, but the things you learn, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's incredible.
So the one thing I talk about the 10 mandatories, the reasoning behind there being those 10 are mandatory to use, again, we buy a lot of it. That's why
Yeah.
it's mandatory, right? To
Yeah.
keep the pricing consistent.
Yeah.
So you kind of read into the message with these. It's not just that, oh, that's more work to be. No, it means it's more, I call it more lucrative once you get
Yeah.
on there, because that means we buy a lot more of that,
Yeah.
right? And things like the climate change. There's They're in touch with there's the green initiatives, but there's just so much going on in our space, and it does not just government, provincially, corporately, everywhere, right? There's things, and I know I've kind of touched on it, but the site I would start with. Look at that York University one. And I even recommend everybody else to do it too, because I go, wow, I didn't even know this existed. That
Yeah.
they're actually focusing on that sustainable type of vendors and things like that, which I think is cool.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Did Sarah Ann, did you share that screen?
Yes. These are the 10 mandatory commodities. So typically, if it's mandatory, they have their own kind of requirements, specific requirements. So if any department needs a certain service or good, that is part of those mandatory requirements, then they will have to go through that supply arrangement that's all across Canada, or a standing offer through that. So, you do need to get on that supply arrangement to become a qualified vendor first to be able to access the market. Okay.
And in most cases, it's not competitive. Like furniture, I just applied and got on it. Okay. But those are the 10 largest commodities that we buy. Right. And so it is worth the trouble of going on it. You know, and I'm sure the folks that are already on, like say furniture, they couldn't care less if anybody else comes on, less competition for them, right? That's the way I look at it. But that, it's just a pre-qualified list of I'm gonna say probably 90% of the cases, right? Pro services, you have to meet certain mandatory criteria for each category. But again, there's different levels. So you can you really can get in low and kind of work your way up as well.
Wonderful. Okay. We've got about probably 5-10 minutes left. Anybody else have a question for Barry or Sarah Ann on anything we talked about in the last 2 sessions or anything you heard today? Reminder, you're going to get a recording of this, and you're also going to get all of the resources that we've kind of had in the chat. Jen will compile them, and that will get sent as well. So working through them is, is something, it's like your homework, which is great because you're all going to get $10,000 contracts, and that doesn't come for free. So
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Carolyn.
Are mental health services part of professional services under mandatory commodities?
Probably.
Probably.
I'm guessing probably, right? No, Sarah, did you find anything when you were looking?
It might be. I'm not 100% sure on that. I might not be, but for veterans, for Veterans Affairs and that specialty, maybe is not a mandatory commodity, but it's a good question. I can look into it.
Well, pro services is the mandatory. Mental health would fall under pro services, right?
I think.
Thought so.
Kind of yeah. But you know what, Carolyn, we can quickly do a search, right? After.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Carolyn. All right. If we can, Megan's got a question. Megan, go on.
Thank you. I think you answered it, but number one, I missed the first day, so I think I missed some stuff. But just to narrow it down to one activity for me in the next couple days, I would love to sell my journal as a wellness tool. I'd like to reach out to like Indigenous community or wellness kind of thing. Where would I start today? Because I feel like there's like a million websites I've opened.
You know what, if you put something together for me, I'll share it on my LinkedIn website. I have probably close to 8,000 followers now, and most First Nation communities follow me because my platform, I use LinkedIn as I share about jobs. I share anything Indigenous in that space. If that's what most people follow. I know there's like these Nation Talk, those are newspapers. I try to share things like conferences and things that people may not find in the regular media. But I can tell you that I have most First Nations across Canada are following me on LinkedIn. Okay, so you would get to them pretty close that way. Okay, it would be a good way to
start with Barry is step one.
We can do that every day if you like. If you want to send it to me and say, hey, Barry, post this we can do that.
Okay. My one thought, and I didn't ask them, is like whenever I go, like say to Magnetawan, I never say I'm at Magnetawan because I'm like, I don't know if they want the world knowing that they've hired me, so that was where I was like, unless I asked.
I don't think it's because here in my community, we have a community health center, which has mental health and people like that. And so every community has it. One of the things I like doing when I travel to these communities, though, I always take a picture of myself and I'd ask them if it's okay. And I put it on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Right? And that's a good way of building up your exposure too, that, hey, she's out there in the communities and stuff, right? And you're also plugging Magnetawan as a beautiful place, right? So
okay. Maybe I should ask her first.
That's all I do.
But I was like, I don't want them to be like, don't tell everybody what we're doing. I don't know,
Well, they're all doing it, right? So and not just First Nations, everywhere, right?
Yeah, I see
Mental
other
health is
people do
everywhere.
it, but I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll just check with her, and then if it's
Yeah,
fine,
I
I'll
would do that.
tag you or whatever.
Okay.
Okay.
And Sarah here, I just wanted to have a little update. I did do a quick search here, Carolyn. There's a lot of mental health services that are purchased by Corrections Canada, CSC. Yeah, a lot of mental health services there. Okay, so it's something to look into, and a lot of them are sole source.
Okay.
So please, it depends on your service. If it's just the one and they don't know of anyone else out there, then maybe you can do a sole source contract. But the other thing I did find here is that professional psychology services, that is here. So there are some postings, there are RFPs through supply arrangements as well. So there is definitely some options out there for you for mental health. It's very specialized here, obviously, but they're not all mandatory commodities. Just want to clarify that. It depends on what kind of mental health service that you provide and what they're looking for. So, but CSC is a large buyer of that, and that's a great department to reach out to, Carolyn.
Okay. And thanks, Megan. Okay. I think if I don't want to say last words, like we'll never see you again, but Barry or Sarah Ann, do you want to say anything for wrapping up? And, you know,
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to say, please don't be afraid to reach out to people in the federal government. Okay, that is, ask questions, be curious, build your network, and be confident with your product or your service, and know your stuff, and then keep going. Don't give up. I wanted to make sure that and reach out to me or Barry. We're here to support you guys with procurement and building those connections, part of that process. So we're excited to hear from you. Maybe it'd be a little bit of a delay in response, especially with Barry, but we are here. If we don't reach out, then if you don't hear back from us, what do? You contact us again. You email us again, and then we will respond eventually.
yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I always tell people I'm probably the only person you'll ever hear say this in the federal government. Bug me. Really, seriously, because I forget. But you know what? One of the things that we're here for, in coming from your side, and Sarah can vouch with, the biggest challenge in the government is how do I find the opportunities or where to go to find those opportunities? That's what we're here for, to show you that they're not that hard to find, right? Like as you see, Sarah Ann's jumping in and out, and she's finding them all over. It's just you need to know where to find them, and that's what's great about having these webinars on how to find things. It just takes the guesswork out of it, and it contributes. That contributes to your well-being because you're not getting stressed out of where to find these things, right?
Well, and it's such a weird assumption to assume that the government doesn't want to buy from you. You know, like as you've both mentioned, the government needs to buy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and the great thing about PAC is it's right across the country.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter where you are on this webinar, there's a PAC office in your area that does exactly what we do.
Yep. Go ahead, Sarah Ann. Do you have a comment? No, you're good.
No, I do have to run though, but it was a pleasure to hear your questions, and thank you everyone on the call. I do have to step out, but it was wonderful. We'll hope to see you guys again soon.
Bye.
Yes, Sarah Ann.
Thanks, Sarah Ann.
All right, bye now.
Yes,
Okay, so I'm gonna start sharing my screen again, and there you go. And I just want to say thank you so much to Sarah Ann, and thank you so much to Barry. I think it's been a fabulous day today, talking about the questions and going through what we talked about in the previous two webinars. I think it's fantastic. And yes, this is a lot to digest. I mean, if you normally provide services to one or two people and you're thinking of branching out, yeah, take a little bit of time to think about it, but don't forget about it. This is a golden opportunity, I think, for a lot of people, something that maybe is a little bit hard to wrap your head around, but whenever you're ready, we're here. Barry has been with Procurement Assistance Canada for many years, so has Sarah Ann, and they know the ins and the outs, so I can't tell you all how happy we are to have you every time. And think about, to people on the call, think about another webinar that maybe you would like to see around Procurement Assistance Canada. Maybe there should be one on how to get onto that list. You know, what is step 1, step 2, step 3? How, you know, when Barry talks about networking, how maybe that's a webinar on how to network within the federal government system, you know, and yeah, things like that. So anyway, I want to leave enough time today for the feedback poll and everything else. So we'll kind of whip through these, and then please stick around for that feedback poll. We really appreciate it. I want to let all of you know that, you know, we're always trying to support you as businesses, women business owners. We have some fabulous SMART programs that are completely free. They're completely online, and you can take 90 days to work through them. In the end, you're going to have an HR policy. In the end, you're going to have a cash flow. In the end, you're going to have a marketing policy for your business, big or small. So please take advantage of that. It's all on our website. And AI, you know, we're trying to make sure that we offer you webinars that you find interesting and also helpful to your business. October 17th, we're doing a 3-part session on AI made simple, using ChatGPT to drive your business forward. There has been a huge amount of interest in this, and we still have spaces available. So go ahead and send us an email if you didn't get it. If you sign up for our eBlast newsletter, you'll always get these sessions. Again, you know, thank you for joining us. It's been a great session. We have all of our social networks down there. Barry mentioned LinkedIn. You know, even if you've got a small business, being on LinkedIn and being able to kind of go through your contacts is a marvelous thing to do. And especially when Barry hooks you up with some people in the federal government that you know, will be able to kind of like work with on a more constant basis. There's our email information. There's our telephone number, everything else. So Jen's going to launch the feedback poll. So anybody that's on the call today, please, if you could fill that out and give us any suggestions that you have, we would love that. And Barry, if you've got to go, we can let you go too, or...
Oh, I'm good.
Okay, good. And yeah, questions that you think of in the middle of the night tomorrow, or questions, you know, in 2 weeks that come to you, please send us an email at WeBC and we will get them to Barry or Sarah Ann, or you can go ahead and do that yourself. So anyway, thank you very much, everybody, for being here. If you've done your feedback poll and you've got to go, we just really appreciate you, and we want to thank you for being here today. And we hope you have a great day. We hope you have a great long weekend. And we hope, above all, that you contact Sarah Ann or Barry a couple of times until you get through and get your questions answered. And we want to hear about your government contracts. So when you get those contracts, please let us know. We want to know how you're all doing. Okay, it looks like we're getting close to the end. So thanks, everybody, for being here. And we'll see you on the next one. Have a great day and a great long weekend, everybody.